We contemplate the face of the earth in summertime and see that the infinite generosity and absolute bounty, which should necessitate chaos and cause disorder in the creation of things, appears within a state of perfect harmony and order. Thus, see all the plants that adorn the face of the earth. Yes, let's go over this again. We are going sentence by sentence, so we will read each sentence. You will say, okay, I have understood this sentence. You will say, you can move on. We will move on. You will say, no, I didn't understand this part of the sentence. We will dwell on that part. You will say, okay, now I understand. We will move on. Shall we move on from the sentence? Is there anything you didn't understand? Okay, let's read it again. The face of the earth, in summertime, we contemplate and see. For instance, is it understandable up to here? The face of the earth. Where is the face of the earth? Everything you see, for instance, the face of the earth, when? In summertime. Why in summertime, not in winter? Mulberries, cherries, let me say, melons, watermelons, grapes. When do they come out? They come out in summer. So we look in the summer. In summertime, we contemplate and see. What does contemplate, tamasha, mean? To observe, to watch. Yes, without interpreting. For example, you go to a vineyard and you contemplate the grapes, or you go to a cherry orchard and contemplate the cherries. That is, you look at creation, at the things Allah has created. You look at the trees, at the birds. First you see. First the eye sees, then the intellect comes into play. First the eye must see. This eye was given to see the divine artifacts, and the intellect was given to see the maker of those artifacts. That is, the eye will see the art, and the insight, that is, the intellect, the eye of the heart, will see the one who made that art. They all have their duties. Yes. Then, the infinite generosity and absolute bounty, which should necessitate chaos and cause disorder in the creation of things, appears within a state of perfect harmony and order. That is, when we look at the creation of things. What example has he given? Let's think through that. Thus, see all the plants that adorn the face of the earth. For example, what will we contemplate now? The plants on the face of the earth. These plants could also be trees. What does he mean by plant? Grasses, flowers, vegetables, and so on. We will look at those things we call vegetation. Tomatoes, potatoes, whatever, and we will see. What will we see? The infinite generosity and absolute bounty which, in their creation, should necessitate chaos and cause disorder. For instance, if we were to tell a craftsman, an artist, make me 10 couches, the man would make them, and make them well. If you say, make me 1,000, many problems, defects, and cracks would appear. The leg of one might be forgotten. Something else of another might be forgotten. For instance, in the universe, when creation begins on the face of the earth, artifacts as vast as the earth are being invented. Despite being created in such great numbers, it appears in a state of utmost harmony and order. That is, there is no compromise in order and harmony. For example, however perfectly Allah has created one plant, if He were to make it the size of the earth, it would still have the same perfection. Let's say one tomato is created. It's very beautiful. When Allah creates 1,000, the quality doesn't drop. It's still the same quality. Whereas for humans, as the quantity increases, you have a tailor sew one suit, he sews it well. If you tell him to sew 100, many of them will be crooked. For example, when the quantity increases, man gets tired. That's outside the topic of the powerless, right? Based on his wisdom, sometimes there is will there. It's not because he can't do it. There is another wisdom there. It's not possible that he could create 1,000,000 tomatoes perfectly, but couldn't create one. He who creates 1,000,000 beautifully can also create the 1,000,001st beautifully. So if he doesn't create it, it's so that it may be a lesson for the others. It doesn't have to be that way. A rotten one appears. They could all have been rotten. What would happen then? There, Allah wants to show other things. For example, with the ones He creates beautifully, He shows His power and wisdom. With the rotten one, He shows other things. He shows other meanings. This is a separate topic. This question also comes up sometimes. It's at the end of the 15th word. If you want, we can go there, but the topic will change. For now, let's first understand the power. In normal circumstances, in the human world, it is like this. When the work increases, the quality drops. Yes. But while this is expected in God's realm, doesn't it happen? No, it doesn't happen like that. Why doesn't it happen like that? It doesn't happen like that because the power is infinite. That is the reason. Why does one get tired in the human world? Because man's power is limited. Since it is limited, as the quantity increases, you divide it. For example, you give all your strength to one suit. When there are 1,000, you divide it by 1,000. Each one gets 1,000th. Now, since Allah's power is infinite, He creates them all the same. No matter how many there are, infinity divided by any number is still infinity. The power does not diminish. There are many reasons for this, but here you are looking at it only from the perspective of the infinity of power. Where do we understand that the divine power is infinite, that the power that created the universe is limited or infinite? The quality does not drop with the increase in number. This can only happen with infinite power. This is evident from the infinity of the power. The creation of creatures is proof of the existence of power, and the fact that the order does not diminish with the increase in the number of created things is proof of its infinity. This is the first example. Then, also, His absolute speed in the creation of things, which should necessitate imbalance and crudeness, appears within a state of perfect balance. Read the next one. That is the next sentence. Thus, look at all the fruits that adorn the face of the earth. What will we see? We will look at the fruits. What do we see when we look at the fruits? Look, the absolute speed in the creation of things, which should necessitate imbalance and crudeness. For example, let's say a couch. How many days does a couch maker take to make one? Let's say he makes it in a day or half a day. Let's assume he makes it in one day. If you tell the man, brother, make this couch for me in 2 hours, what would happen? The balance in it would be lost when he makes it fast. For example, a barber gives you a haircut, say, for half an hour. If you say, always give me a haircut in 5 minutes, you won't get the quality of the half-hour one. When you speed up, the quality drops. But in the universe, no matter how fast Allah creates, the quality does not drop. The speed here, a moment ago it was about quantity, here it's about speed. The speed. For example, the creation of a human cell is very fast. Chemical reactions are very fast. In the synthesis of ATP, 20,000 reactions occur in a household. 20,000 events. Those chemical reactions, this and that, they happen instantly. For example, order, harmony. There are things that are created very quickly. They seem slow to us, but in themselves they are very fast. They are created so quickly, but the perfection is not disrupted. What does that show again? It shows the infinity of the power. Let's move on to the next thing. Also, his absolute profusion, which should necessitate insignificance and perhaps even ugliness, appears within a state of perfect beauty of art. Thus, look at all the flowers that gild the face of the earth. Yes. Now we are looking at the flowers. What do we see in the flowers? His absolute profusion, which should necessitate insignificance and perhaps even ugliness. His absolute profusion, they are created in great numbers. For instance, he creates a flower, and flowers are everywhere. When there are so many flowers, what should happen? They should be insignificant. The value given to them, the care given, should be low. They should be worthless. Then they should be ugly. But you look, there are so many of them, yet despite there being flowers everywhere, it appears within a state of perfect beauty of art. It appears with the same beauty, the same quality. Yes, these things show the infinity of the power. So many will be created, but they will be created with the same quality. Yes. Then his absolute ease in the creation of things, which should necessitate artlessness and simplicity, appears within a state of limitless artistry, skill, and care. Read its example. Thus look carefully at all the seeds and kernels, which have the ruling of being little chests for the equipment of the trees and plants on the face of the earth, and little boxes for their life histories. Look, the example he gives is wonderful. The little chests for the equipment of the trees and plants on the face of the earth. What are these? Seeds. The seeds of trees, kernels. The little chest of vegetation is the seed, and the little boxes of their life histories. Look at all the seeds and kernels which have this ruling. Now, where are we looking? We are looking at all the seeds and all the kernels. What do we see there? Let's look at the sentence above. Their life histories are written. What is there in those life histories? The absolute ease in the creation of things, which should necessitate artlessness and simplicity. They are created easily. Normally, for example, if a craftsman makes something with care versus without care, wouldn't it change the art? It would. It seems as if it's being made with ease, as if not much importance is given, as if not much attention is paid. But it appears with limitless artistry. That is, the DNAs, the DNA chains, when you look at them, they are arranged atom by atom, like prayer beads, the chromosomes, the DNA molecules, and so on. The slightest mistake there would ruin everything. What does one see there? It appears within a state of limitless artistry, skill, and care. For instance, they have made animations of the inside of a cell, or the activities in the nucleus of that cell. Perhaps you have watched them in biology classes. For example, how the DNA molecules are copied when a second cell is created. It's as if perfect professional workers are working inside. One comes and opens it, another comes and copies it, and another one closes it back. Do you want packers, or those who pack and carry away? It's as if they are all working like professional high-tech craftsmen in that realm. But you look, and they are all unconscious, mindless things, touching with such great care, yet it seems as if no importance is given. But the result that emerges is as if tremendous importance is given. What does this show? It again shows infinite power. Then, also, the absolute distance, which should necessitate difference and divergence, appears within a state of absolute agreement. Thus, look at all the kinds of grain sown in all the regions of the earth. In all the regions of the earth. What does that mean? In all the regions of the earth, sown, planted. Look at all the kinds of grain that are planted. Seeds, wheat, barley, whatnot. You look at the face of the earth. What do you see here? Absolute distance, which should necessitate difference and divergence. Absolute distance. You plant wheat in America, the same wheat is created there, and the same wheat comes out here. There is distance. When there is distance, the arts begin to not resemble each other. Despite there being so much distance, what does it say? It appears within a state of absolute agreement. Everything resembles each other. Yes. Then, also, the perfect intermingling, which should necessitate confusion and blending, appears, on the contrary, within a state of perfect distinction and separation. For example, let's say there is a chef. If you say, "Brother, just cook me some dry beans," he will cook it perfectly, right? If you say, "Brother, you will make me 10 different dishes here at the same time," you would see that one thing gets mixed into another. That one salt gets into the other. They all get mixed up. Nothing good comes out. If many jobs are done in the same place, they get mixed up. But you look in the universe, you throw a lot of seeds into the same soil. They all come out distinctly from each other. They don't get mixed up. Read its example. Thus, look at the perfect distinction of the seeds, which are thrown mixed under the ground, and are materially similar to one another at the time of their sprouting, and at the separation with perfect distinction of the various substances that enter the trees into leaves, flowers, and fruits, and at the separation with perfect distinction of the mixed foods that enter the stomach, according to the various organs and cells. See the perfect power within the perfect wisdom. How many examples did he give here? Let's find the examples. What is the first example? The seeds which are thrown mixed under the ground and are materially similar to one another. For example, you throw tomatoes and whatnot, all of them into the same small area. You throw all their seeds. At the time of their sprouting, the perfect distinction of the seeds. All of them are separate distinctions. This is one. Then the various substances that enter the trees, from the roots, from the air, from here and there, they enter the tree. For instance, there are hundreds of types of minerals in the soil, right? They all enter. The various substances came to the leaf, flower, and fruit. They will be separated into leaf, fruit, and flower. The separation with perfect distinction of the various substances into leaves, flowers, and fruits. The substance that needs to go to the leaf is separate. The substance that needs to go to another part is separate. Another to another part. They are all separated and go. Their separations. Then it came to us, the mixed foods that enter the stomach. You sat at the dinner table in the evening and ate from everything there. The mixed foods that enter the stomach, for instance, there is calcium, there is protein, there is fat, there are carbohydrates, minerals, everything is there. For example, their separation with perfect distinction according to the various organs and cells. Calcium goes to the bone, for instance, potassium goes to the eye, something else goes somewhere else. Wherever there is a need, the distribution, the separation. Look at their separations. What do you see within the perfect wisdom? Power. See the perfect power. Both power is needed, and knowledge and wisdom are needed. Knowledge and wisdom are needed. Because if they weren't separated, what would happen to the person? It would be the end of that person. That evening would be the end of the person. The man wouldn't wake up in the morning. Not knowing is not enough. Power is needed. You have to apply it. Do you have the strength and power for this? For example, the cargo truck came to the city. Now it has to go to all the addresses. If you don't know the way, if you don't know what is needed where, how will you go? That's a simple thing. The human body is such a magnificent city. These people, for example, say that unbelief settles in the empty head of the unbeliever. They say these people don't look at the universe. They don't contemplate the universe. Yes. They invent unbelief from their own heads. He says their unbelief has no place. Look at this crime. It's a massacre. It is. That's why hell is eternal. Look, if a person were to follow one particle, if he were to follow one of the particles in the human body, he would find Allah. That's all. He will follow one particle. He will see its orderly movements. This mindless, unconscious particle's orderly movements, I don't even know what needs to be done. How does it know? He will say. It's not moving randomly on its own. Then the one who knows the human body, who created it, is directing it, he will say, and he will find Allah. Let him read one of the particles from the 30th word. If he reads just one, it's over. No, take it. The Master says their eyes are covered. For example, in Barla, on Chamda, Pine Mountain, he would do this. Astonishment, astonishment. How do they deny? How do they deny? Looking around, he would say with astonishment, how can they deny when there is so much evidence everywhere? He would express his astonishment like that. But it's about faith, you know. Faith is also a matter of faith, Nasib. You have to be worthy. The jewel of faith does not enter every heart. It means Allah does not grant it to that man. It's his own problem. Yes. Then also the extreme abundance and the extreme cheapness, which should necessitate insignificance and worthlessness, appear on the face of the earth in a state of being extremely valuable and precious in terms of artifact and art. Thus, within that limitless, wondrous art, look only at the varieties of mulberries, which are the candies of power on the All-Merciful's dinner table of the earth. Read the example again. Thus, within that limitless, wondrous art, what does this within that limitless, wondrous art mean? It means, I will give you an example, but there are countless examples. Which one? He is saying, which one should I count for you? Yes. Which one should I start with? He is saying. At least let me start with the mulberry and you can start from there, he says. Look, limitless, wondrous art. There's nothing that isn't wondrous anyway. But within the limitless, wondrous art on the All-Merciful's dinner table of the earth. Look at these expressions. What is the earth? The All-Merciful's. The dinner table of all animals, all humans. Allah's dinner table. You can think of each tree as a dish. They present them to us with their delicate hands. It sways like this, you catch it. For example, as it ripens, Allah brings it down. When it reaches maturity, its color, its moisture, everything falls into place. You say, it's ripe when you take it. You understand from its color, for instance. You look at a fig, for example. We went to eat figs last week. It's obvious you learn. You hit the mark with what you pick. You say the others are not ready. We'll eat them next week, for instance. It says in its own language of state, I am ready to be eaten. Everything. It's not just wisdom. If it's not ripe, it looks different. If it is ripe, it looks different, and so on. Could all these details happen on their own, by coincidence? You eat a dessert and the man works on that business for years just to get the taste right. Yes, the taste. And that's from ready-made sugar. The man isn't making it from mud. And if he made sugar from mud and then made baklava for us, how much would it cost? $1 million. It would be $1 million. But for how much does Allah give us the mulberry? Let's say 10 lira a kilo. It's free. If you cut it from the tree, it's free. If you go and write it in your mouth, it's free. A mulberry comes out of that branch. One should ask this: is there a reason for it to come out of here? From the perspective of causes, and there is no reason. None. Then you say, it's directly Allah. It's without a veil. I see it without a veil. I mean, there are definitely causes, but I see them only as pretexts. I cannot see any merit in them in terms of being a cause. It is only the manifestation of the divine names, the thing that makes it exist there, he says, for example. The causes, he says, and the names, if you look from a distance at the peaks of the mountain and the skirts of the sky, they appear to be connected and adjacent, whereas he says, there is a limitless distance between them. That is, there is a limitless distance between the causes and the effects. These causes cannot do it. They cannot reach it. Only the divine names can fill that gap, he says. Now, when we look at this mulberry, what are we going to see? Let's read the sentence above. Also the insignificance, the worthlessness. If something is abundant, it is like garbage. It has no value or importance. But you look, there are so many, but each one is of a different quality and beauty. The extreme abundance and the extreme cheapness, which should necessitate insignificance and worthlessness. For example, in the human world, things that are rare are valuable, right? Things that are produced in large quantities are worthless. But in the universe, it is not so. No matter how many are created, their value and quality are the same. Look, as the quantity increases, the value does not decrease. This is something that can only happen with infinite power. It maintains the same quality. Yes, the cheapness as well appears on the face of the earth in a state of being extremely valuable and precious in terms of artifact and art. And then, when we look at the mulberries, see the perfect mercy within the perfect art. When we look at the mulberry, what are we supposed to see? The perfect mercy. That is, we will see Allah's mercy, His compassion for us within the perfect art. What kind of connection can we establish between art and compassion? For example, when you show compassion to a child, how will the food you make for him be? And how will it be if you don't? It will be ordinary. For instance, if one doesn't show compassion, he presents the blessings to us with such art, with the most perfect art. This means his compassion and mercy for us are also that high. He is not saying, let them take this and eat it and then go away. We will see Allah's compassion in the taste of that mulberry. It could have been 3 or 5 standard foods. Tasty or tasteless, we would be nourished, but it would be like hay. We would have gotten our food. It's not like that. It's not like that. Number, it's not like that. Compassion Those tasteless fruits are actually a result of human interference. They're natural states. Yes, that's not left now. Unfortunately, those peaches are not left anymore. Today's peaches are not peaches. They are made of plastic. I know the old Bursa peaches. The stain of a peach wouldn't come out in the old days. I know the oranges. Yes, your hand would get sticky. You couldn't eat it. Last year, my conversation partner brought some from his garden from the year before without hormones. We ate something completely different. We want more. In one lesson one evening, God willing, if he brings about 5 kilos, we will eat it at the end of the lesson. How did he say it in the 30th, in the section on scholars? On the condition that man's tainted hand does not interfere, no real ugliness and uncleanliness is seen anywhere. Apply this to everything. Man spoils it. He adds this fertilizer, says that. Man spoils the quality. Yes. Thus, on the entire face of the earth, together with extreme preciousness, there is limitless cheapness. And within limitless cheapness, together with limitless difference and mixture, there is limitless distinction and separation. And within limitless distinction and separation, together with extreme distance, there is the utmost agreement and resemblance. And within the utmost resemblance, together with extreme ease and facility, there is an extremely careful making. And within an extremely beautiful making, together with absolute speed and swiftness, there is an extremely balanced, measured, and wasteless state. And within an extreme wastelessness, together with the utmost abundance and profusion, there is the utmost beauty of art. And within the utmost beauty of art, together with infinite generosity, there is absolute order. This certainly, just as daylight points to the light and light points to the sun, bears witness to the necessary existence of a powerful one of majesty, a wise one of perfection, a merciful one of beauty, and to his perfect power, the beauty of his lordship, his oneness, and his uniqueness. They show the secret of to him belong the most beautiful names. Let's not get into the details of these opposites now. When we look at the opposites, who is behind them? Who is there that it is like this? These opposites should actually destroy each other, but they cannot. He mentions such things that are not explainable by logic and reason. Number, it's like saying a camel will pass through the eye of a needle. It will be like this and also like that. He is talking about wondrous, wondrous things. For example, when you do something fast, the art should diminish, but it doesn't. When the quantity increases, the art should diminish, but it doesn't. What kind of a thing is this? Normally it's expected to drop, but it doesn't. Then what is it that nullifies the rule of these opposites? In our realm, these opposites execute their rule, and they spoil things. They do. Why don't they spoil things in the universe? Yes. What is it that removes these opposites as if they are not opposites? Yes. The thing that does it? Because it is he who provides that abundance. Yes. He provides the greatness. He provides the speed. The source of those things is also himself. For example, let me give an example. It stems from the fact that all of his names are infinite. Nobody else can. How will this be? Otherwise, let me say it like this, to make the example simple. For example, iron and water, which is hard to us and which is soft to us. They are beyond comparison. Water is soft to us, iron is hard. Yes, to Allah, which one is hard? To Allah, they are both soft. There is no difference. Why is there no difference? Because He Himself is the one who makes the iron hard. Himself. He is the one who makes it hard. For example, big and small make a difference to us. Why don't they make a difference to Allah? Both the big and the small are His. He is the one who gives the bigness. When we look, the source of everything is again Him. Let's say you didn't see that. Before the infinite, it would be the same. There are 13 reasons for this. One of them is infinity. There are 13 other separate reasons. So what kind of a Lord must be behind all this universe? What kind of a Lord does such a universe necessitate? When we say, what kind of a God must Allah be for a universe like this, with all these opposites to exist? Then it describes Allah. What was the universe like? Let's read from here. A powerful one of majesty, Qadir Izul Jalal. He must be powerful. He must possess power. He must possess majesty. There should be no limit to his power, to his greatness. A powerful one of majesty. A wise one of perfection, Hakim Izul Kamal. He must possess wisdom, and he must possess perfection. There must be no flaw. And a merciful one of beauty, Rahim Izul Jamal. He must be compassionate, merciful, and possess beauty. There is such a Lord. His necessary existence, meaning his existence is from himself, not created by another. For instance, necessary means one whose existence is from himself is called wajib. Yes. One whose existence is from another is called mumkin, contingent. For example, our existence is due to Allah's existence. For example, the light in a mirror is not the mirror's own light. There is light in the mirror because of the sun. That is a contingent example. For instance, the sun's light is its own in a degree, though the sun is not ultimately from itself either. But when compared to the mirror, it is in a degree its own. That is called necessary. His existence must be from himself, and all his attributes must be necessary. Then, his necessary existence, his perfect power. His power will not be deficient or flawed. It will be a flawless power. Then the beauty of his lordship, Kemali Rububiyatin. What does the beauty of his lordship mean? Shall I do something to make this stick in your minds? Yes. For example, there are 3 levels. The first is the existence of Allah himself, his essence together with his attributes and names. Got it? 1, Allah's manifesting himself with his names and attributes, with his power. And 1, after that manifestation, the existence of the universe. 3 levels. Allah, the universe, and is manifesting himself while creating this universe. The manifestation, the lordship, Rububiyyat. It is. The manifestation is called lordship. That is the essence of it. Yes. Since thousands of names are manifested within the manifestation, the reality of lordship becomes very rich. For instance, if he is creating, it is with the name Khalik, the creator. If he is providing sustenance, it is with the name Razak, the provider. Now, that detail, you see all the names in the lordship. Now there is Allah. If he weren't manifesting, would the universe be created? There has to be something. For example, there is the sun, but it gives no rays. How will the mirrors shine? There needs to be a manifestation. That manifestation is called lordship. But that manifestation, since it manifests with the realities of all his names and attributes, the reality of lordship becomes very rich. For example, he creates, he gives shape, he provides sustenance, he makes things grow. Whatever you see is within the reality of lordship, and he manifests with his 1001 names. So let's understand lordship briefly for now. In the Ayat al-Kubra, it's summarized with 20 names. Let's not go there now. So there will be his lordship, then there will be his oneness, Vahdaniyati. He will rule over everything at once. For example, let's say there is a big factory. The factory owner must be able to manage every part of the factory at once. Allah's power must be such that he can reach everywhere at once, not just here and there, but the entirety of it. He must rule over all of it at once. That is oneness, Vahdaniyat. But while ruling over the whole at once, he will also have a special attention for every detail. That is called uniqueness, Ahadiyat. For example, while creating the human body as a whole, you look and see the eye is separately. There is a separate turning of attention to every single point. That is uniqueness, Ahadiyat. You look at that eye, for instance. He has created it in relation to the whole body. Then it means he has looked at the whole body from that eye. For example, that is uniqueness, Ahadiyat. For instance, living beings are the most beautiful example of uniqueness, because life is a reality distilled from the entire universe. Since he distills it from the entire universe, he must be looking at that thing in the entire universe. That becomes the uniqueness part. So he will be unique, he will be one. He will rule over everything, but he will rule over every detail of the work separately. That bears witness to his uniqueness. Only such a being can create this universe. They show the secret of to him belong the most beautiful names. It is said there are 99 beautiful names. All of them are manifested in the universe. They show that. Now, what did the Master do? We looked at the universe. We saw that in this beautiful universe, despite these opposites, the opposites do not rule, but power rules. And we explained it in this way. Could there be another explanation for this? Could the things put forward by the philosophers be it? Let's also look at them, he says. Now let's see how absurd they are. Now read. Now, O helpless, ignorant, heedless, stubborn, nihilistic one. Look, he addressed those men. Helpless. They are helpless in seeing the truth. Ignorant. They do not know the art in the universe, what it necessitates. Heedless. They are unaware of so much beauty. If you don't see it, it doesn't exist, the man says. That is, this is contrary to logic, first of all. It is contrary to logic. Then if you really, the Master says, not seeing is not proof of non-existence. Adam al-Ruya, not seeing, is not evidence for Adam al-Wujud, non-existence, he says. First of all, you are unaware of this first rule of logic. If this is so, then there are many things you must deny right now. First, deny your own mind. Do you see your mind? Deny it then. Number, I won't deny my mind because it has manifestations. Doesn't this have manifestations? Doesn't it have manifestations? You believe in that through its manifestations, but why don't you believe in this through its manifestations? It doesn't suit you. First of all, not seeing does not prove non-existence. Not seeing cannot be proof of non-existence. This is logic, and the man is a logic teacher. Shame on a logician like you should say. Then they become stubborn. Yes, he is being stubborn, brother. Don't be stubborn. Don't be stubborn. Nihilistic. Yes. With what can you interpret these limbs? Go on, explain it then. You explain it. You explain. We explained it this way. How do you explain it? You explain. Yes. With what can you explain this extremely miraculous and wondrous state of affairs? Yes. To what can you attribute these limitless, wondrous arts? Go on, answer this. These limitless, wondrous, the fly, the insect, for example. Go on, explain a mosquito. How will you explain it? The eye. Why are we tearing ourselves apart? You should come across a man and say, I'm tired of this ablution and prayer. I'm looking for a way out. And you're saying things like this. But say something with logic so that it's not in vain. Let's come and discuss this. At least start from there. Excuse me. This has been on my mind. Look at the picture of a fly. If you were to place a pen and a piece of paper and let the winds of chance blow, even if 1,000,000 years passed, that pen would not get up and draw even a picture of that fly. It wouldn't. It couldn't draw its picture there, let alone its 3 dimensions, let alone it being alive, let alone it flying in the air, let alone its proper reproduction. It couldn't even get its simplest shape right. And this fly is just one of hundreds of millions of examples. To what can you attribute these limitless, wondrous arts? Explain it then. Explain. With what will you explain it? With coincidence. Okay. Then show me something in the human world that happened by coincidence. Show me one thing. Look, there are hundreds of houses here. Which one happened by coincidence? If one of them happened by coincidence, I will believe it too. There are so many cars everywhere, right? Which one happened by coincidence? Tell me one car happened by coincidence, then I'll attribute all the horses and donkeys to coincidence. Which one? There are so many airplanes, for instance. Which one came into being by coincidence, tell me? Look, someone made all of them, but say this one happened on its own. Let him show it. Then I'll attribute the flying birds to coincidence. There is a comparison in logic. Then, what veil of heedlessness can you draw over this earth-sized window to close it? And then, where is your coincidence? Where is your unconscious companion, nature, which you trust, and which is your point of support in misguidance, and your friend? MashaAllah. Yes. Isn't it 100 times impossible for coincidence to interfere in these matters? Isn't it 100 times impossible for coincidence to interfere in these matters? Yes. Then, and isn't it 1,000 times impossible to attribute one of these wondrous works to nature? And then, or does your inanimate, powerless nature have spiritual machinery and printing presses inside every single thing? In the number of the things made from that thing? Yes. Okay, that is enough.